A boring routine that may help you to succeed faster. This is actually the topic of today's podcast episode. Hey everyone, Maggiaro here, and I'm happy to see you again on another episode for content creators to help them actually create and build their thing online. And today I wanted to make a confession, and I have to be straightforward with you that the thing that I'm going to talk about today, like this habit, this little routine, can have an extreme powerful impact to your life, to your business, to everything basically. But I was guilty of not applying this, of thinking that this is unnecessary, that this is not important. And I was completely wrong. So I've learned this lesson the hard way, and I wanted to share with you what this routine actually is and the best practices so that you can apply it straight into your life, basically. So what is this routine all about? So this routine is probably also very boring because once you're going to hear the name, you're probably going to tell me, well, Matt, I know that already. Like, give me something new. Like, feed my curiosity with a new shiny object habit or a new shiny object thing that I can implement right away. Well, if you're following me, you probably know that I have been guilty myself for chasing so many shiny objects in the past that I actually don't want you to do the same mistake. So this boring routine is actually the weekly review. Wow. This was the thing. Like, I've been teasing you for so long just for telling you that, well, you have to implement a weekly review. Well, first of all, let's talk about what is actually a weekly review. A weekly review is nothing else than you sitting on a chair and actually thinking about what you've done the past week. This is what the weekly review is all about, right? And then you could implement some different things, let's say cleaning your inboxes, cleaning your downloads folder, and all tiny little things like, let's say, backing up your email list or backing up your computer and so on and so forth, right? You can implement other things. But what is the most important thing here? It is actually to reflect and to actually think about what you've done the last week. And why is this so important? Because what you have to understand is that we cannot think, let's say, on a, like, it's called, like, I don't want to use like some crazy lingo here, but you can Google this, like convergent versus divergent thinking, which means that we can actually not think, let's say, on tweaking, let's say, what we just wrote, or let's say things that we say in our video, right? And at the same time, thinking on the big picture. So right now, as you can see, I'm recording a podcast. Like, while I'm focused on actually delivering the main idea that I want to share with you, I can at the same time not think about how does this episode actually fit into my overall content strategy. You see what I mean? So this is what I mean with convergent versus divergent thinking. And it's exactly the same thing if you are, let's say, a photography amateur. You probably know that you cannot zoom in and zoom out at the same time. If you zoom in, you deliberately make the choice to not zoom out, and vice versa. And this is really important, and you really have to understand that, because when you're actually in your week, in your work week, when you're just starting cranking out content, reading, and doing all the other stuff, the stuff that you're actually doing during your week, you cannot think strategically at the same time. It's just not possible, right? So you really have to understand this concept. And once you actually acknowledge that, well, this is true, I've experienced this myself, then now comes the question, when do you actually review? When do you leave time for the strategic thinking? And this is when the weekly review comes into play, right? So by having a dedicated time to actually reflect and think about this stuff, you are actually setting yourself up for success. And here's the thing. Let's say if you're into aeronautics, I think this is the right way how you pronounce it. So basically everything related to airplanes, so on and so forth. You know that airplanes have actually an autopilot. And what's happening with this autopilot, it's that this autopilot is constantly recalculating if the plane is on the right path, right? So if it's not, then it readjusts. And then just like the whole plane or like the whole computers are just like adjusting according to the end goal, right? So this is like roughly the thing. I'm not like a specialist in that, but this is just what like stuff that I've read. So this is important because same thing goes to you, but you cannot calculate or cannot be calculating constantly if you're on the right track. It just takes too much mental energy. So better is actually to focus and this weekly review about this strategic thinking. And once a week is pretty interesting and pretty solid because it gives you enough time to actually focus on the tactics, on the little things that you have to do. And it also like gives you the time to really think about the big picture here, okay? And what are the questions that you're going to ask yourself during this weekly review? Well, there are plenty of questions that you can ask yourself. But usually, what's interesting is that you're going always to start answering the standard questions that every entrepreneur should answer, which means actually, just review the basics of your business. Who's your customer? What's your customer avatar? How do you get people? How do you get yourself out there? How do people discover you? What does your whole funnel look like? How do you build trust? How do you build engagement? And so on and so forth, right? Like this basic stuff, this basic boring stuff. But this is the basic boring stuff that actually moves the needle, right? While so many people are just looking for the latest hacks, well, most of them don't really know who their target customer actually is. Most of them don't really know where their customers are coming from. Most don't really know what mind shift they have to provide to their customers or to their audience in order just for them to start buying some stuff, right? Most of them just don't take the time because this is boring stuff. Well, okay, this customer avatar stuff. Well, I already read about that 10 years ago. I'm fine. I know what it is. This is how most entrepreneurs think. And I've been thinking myself like that for many years, right? So I'm talking from experience here. But this is like the big thing that you have to understand is that the pro masters the basics. And the other kind of people, they are just getting distracted by shiny objects, by shiny tactics, by shiny things. And they never really give themselves the chance to stick to a plan. So you just have to make a choice. Do you want to be a pro? Or do you just want to be like another weird chicken just running ahead and just trying out every new single tactic every day? This is the thing that you have to ask yourself, right? So as an example right now, how does my weekly review actually look like? Is that I'm still right now, and this could be a little bit crazy, I'm still in what I call market research phase, which means that I have different things and I have different, let's say, ideas, but I don't really have a market validation for that, right? So right now what I'm doing is I'm publishing tiny pieces of content on Medium and to actually see which story actually resonates with people, which means on which stories am I getting the most engagement. So I'm testing out different things. And then after that, my strategy is actually to get people on a call, people who are interested in actually what I have to, about the big topic that I'm talking about in these stories. and then just conduct some market research. Just seeing, like, first, are those people in my target market? If not, what are their, which market do they belong to, right? Maybe like my assumption of the target market is just wrong. Okay. Secondary, if let's say they are in my target market, well, are those people actually have the pain points, or can they validate the pain points that I have actually chosen? If yes, then I can move ahead, and so on and so forth. But this, like, you can easily, especially when you're working with social media, get actually distracted by getting more likes, getting more this, getting more that, and just shifting your focus. Because your focus is so fragile that it's like you can easily get distracted by doing something else and then just lose the big objective or the big goal, and then just finding yourself in the weeds. And then after you realize 3 months down the road, I didn't really make any progress. So this is why you have to constantly adjust your focus. You have to constantly adjust yourself to not lose track of what you are supposed to do. And as I told you, like, it's not a sexy thing. It's boring stuff, right? Asking yourself, well, who's my avatar? Who's my target customer? How do I get people notice me, and so on and so forth? This is boring stuff. I agree with you, but this is the boring stuff that really moves the needle. This is the boring stuff that will get you the 80-20. Okay, so here's what I would encourage you to do. Is just start actually blocking out a specific day in your week where you're going to do a weekly review. You may feel that a little bit of resistance, or that you may not need this, but I assure you that this resistance that you're feeling is actually a good thing, and this means that you are actually growing outside of your comfort zone. Okay, so I really, really strongly encourage you to implement this weekly review. And if you need some help, I'm here to help. For the time being, I have a free 30 minutes consult that you can book for free by just checking out the link in the description, and we can talk about that. We can talk about how to grow your business and how to actually implement these things into your routine, right? So if you need some help, don't hesitate to reach out. And if you appreciate this episode, don't forget to subscribe and like and all the stuff that you already probably know and that you're going to do anyways if you really appreciate it. So I don't need to remember you to do that. And yeah, with that being said, I see you in the next one.